What's up, limited players? Are you ready to win some boxes this weekend at the Arena Direct? Well, we've got you on Top Deck the Gathering. Joining me on the line, as always, all the way from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Blake Fonder. How's it going,
What
Blake?
are you doxing me? What is
Yep,
this?
I'm doxing you. No, everyone,
Okay.
everyone docks Blake.
All
That's
right,
not. That's
guys. The
not
most
doxing.
terrifying.
That's not
I
doxing
mean,
you.
I don't. You're giving them a relative area.
Yeah, well, I guess they'll, if they really wanted to get you, they could just bomb all of Chattanooga, and then they get
Well,
you.
if they have those sorts of capabilities, I guess they could find me if they were
Yeah, for
trying to.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if anyone's interested, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. So, um, but anyway, we're here to talk Duskmourn, not doxing. So, um,
Doxmourn. Hmm.
Doxmourn, yeah, okay, you got my attention. Um, have you been playing any Duskmourn
Oh
to
yeah.
practice? Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And let me tell you, if uh, if the people in the arena direct are drafting the way the
mhm,
people in my
mhm,
drafts have been drafting,
mhm.
it is gonna be a slaughter.
Yep,
An absolute slaughter. I do not know what's going on. I had a
yeah, I have
deck
no
earlier
idea.
with two Valgavots onslaughts, and I didn't get either of them pack or pick one.
Yeah,
One of them I got pack 3, pick 5.
I got a I was drafting like 30 minutes ago and I got a pick 2 pack 1 roller crusher ride. And I was sitting there looking at it and I'm like, what did someone take over the roller crusher ride?
No, it's just I don't I the set wasn't out that long ago.
No.
Like I don't understand
The
how the people forgot how it functioned so
yeah, the
badly.
collective memory of the community is kind of sus right now for sure. Um that being said, I haven't trophied yet. I've gotten some
I
really
I
busted
went all
decks.
the way to mythic on this set. I was at like
Wow.
plat 3 and now I'm mythic rank like 42.
Yeah, I'm at plat 3 right now. But yeah, I've been doing pretty well, especially in the games I'm winning. I'm just crushing. Um, man, and you know what? I'm calling it. Duskmourn is not as complicated as Aether Drift. It's just not. That might be a
It's
hot take, but there you just couldn't
I
convince me.
think Aether Drift's more complex because the games go longer on average.
I could see
Like
that.
all of the best decks in Duskmourn are faster decks.
Yep.
Like blue white's probably consistently the best deck you want to get into, and it's very fast.
Blue white
Red white's
is
very
absurd.
fast. Red green's very fast.
Yep.
Black red's very fast. Blue
It's a
green's really the only mid range deck, and it's also very good.
Yeah, and really blue green is like blue green X, like because you can just splash all the live long day with those centipedes.
Yeah.
Um, but so another big takeaway, way bombier than Aether Drift. This set is
I don't know about
so
that.
bomby. Well, okay, I don't think there's as many Sabsunans of the world in Duskmourn, but I think there's a higher number of significantly better bombs than Aether Drift.
I'd agree with you in as much as like I feel consistently better taking a lot of the rares in this set than I do in Aether Drift.
Yeah,
Aether Drift just has a bunch of clunkers. I wouldn't say
it
that the
does.
bombs are better in this set. The rares are just good rares.
Yep, I could see that. Yeah. Um, so let's see. How do we want to do this? There's a good
I
bit to talk
think,
about in this set, but
yeah,
where do you want to start?
given my experience so far with doing recent drafts, I feel like the most compelling thing we can do for the audience is just give them a basic rundown of the set
Mm-hmm.
because that seems to be
Yep.
where my opponents are coming up shy.
Short. Yeah.
Give them an idea of the things they should try and work their way into. Give them an idea of the things that they should not be in at
Sure.
all.
Sure.
Um, yeah, that's where I am.
So let's start with things to avoid. Um, you got to have a really, really, really disgustingly fantastic reason to be green white in this set.
Hmm.
Like you
Same thing
can
with
be
white.
green white, but you got to get like some bomb.coms. You got to throw them together, and they all got to be green white. Like
Yeah. Not and it's really strange too because it's an easy trap to lure yourself into
yes,
white and green are in contention for the best color in the set,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but white green is one of the worst decks in the set.
Yep.
It's not really close.
Yep.
Like I said, white black is up there, and blue black as well, as far as just atrocious decks.
Mm-hmm.
But green white, it's too clunky. And again, this Aether Drift's a synergy format. Duskmourn's a synergy format too, but Duskmourn's faster, which means it's
So much
really a
faster.
synergy format. So unless you're blue green, you cannot afford to not have a 2-drop.
Yep.
You need a turn 2 play, and that's
And I
kind of
mean,
just
if
how
you're
it
in
is.
blue green, you still need 2-drops.
Yes.
But blue green also gets the privilege of having great 2-drops that are also just kind of blue green gold cards, or just
Yes.
straight blue green gold cards.
Yes.
Um,
Also worth noting, you do not want to be 3 colors in this set unless you are heavy base green. Um, there's no reason to do it. Don't be Esper. Don't be Mardu. Don't be like anything in that realm. You can pull off Teamer,
you think even if you get the
and
fixing for it, like the dual lands?
I just don't think it's consistent enough. Too often, you're either not going to be able to play your turn 2 play as a result of running so many colors,
Sure.
or it's just not going to work out the way you
So,
want to.
so are you saying don't be 3-color soup, or are you saying don't
I'm
even
saying don't
splash?
if you're not in green, don't be 3 color.
Are you saying don't splash 3rd color?
Yes, yes.
Interesting.
If you're not in green,
So if you're, say you're, we'll
unless
say,
you get 5 plus dual lands.
interesting. What if you're, say, black white, and you get a what is it? Scurry of Gremlins or whatever. Midnight Mayhem. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Midnight Mayhem is great. It's one of the better performing uncommons in the set, but you don't want it in any of your other color pairs. Because black
Interesting.
white isn't doing what white red is.
Interesting.
Like
Okay.
all of the color pairs are very distinct in what
Sure.
they're doing and what they want to do in this set.
And so you want to build a deck that is a sum greater than its parts.
Yes.
Okay. I can see that.
Yes. And there are exceptions to that.
Sure.
For example, if you open a nasty, nasty white bomb,
Mm-hmm.
pack one, pick one, and you open a nasty, nasty green bomb, pack two, pick one. You just be white green.
Yeah.
There's just gonna be white green good stuff.
Sure.
And there are some disgusting bombs in this set. All of the
Yeah.
overlords are great.
Yep.
They're in
All.
literally any of them is a very reasonable pack one, pick one.
Yeah. Do not pass them. Pack one. Pick
Mm-mm.
one.
Especially the overlord of the Mistmoors.
The Mistmours is insane.
It's the best of an already strong pack.
So are
I'd say the
you?
weakest one is, what would you say, Overlord of the Bale Merc, and it's still good.
Yeah.
A black one.
Yeah. Um. Back to the splashing thing for just a second. I remember us talking when this set was out about getting like a late Valgavas onslaught and splashing for it. Are you doing that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
that's an exception to the rule,
that's one of the exceptions to the rule. Okay.
for sure.
So yeah, the Valgavas onslaught is basically unpassable in this set.
Yes, and it is like that you're willing to splash because it's just one green pip for the second best card in the set.
Yep. Um, and then the other thing to avoid is probably blue red. I mean,
Blue red.
there are reasons to be blue red, but you gotta have really good reasons, and you gotta have, it's gotta be like a very consistent deck to work out.
And don't get me wrong, blue red can come together, but
Yep.
you need all the parts that your opponents are also going to be trying to get.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That was the biggest problem with blue red, is that the rooms were just so great that everybody else wanted them too.
Yep.
And so they weren't just for the room deck. Like, and that ended up hurting the room deck a lot.
Yep.
You want to go into some more, like, some of the top cards not to pass, other ones? Like, I'd say you don't pass Unholy Annex and Ritual Chamber,
Yes,
especially like
yeah,
pack one, pick one.
like The bombs, I think, kind of speak for themselves.
Okay,
They look powerful, and I think they're powerful enough. I
fair.
think just a quick run through of like how you really want to build
Hmm.
your uh, your two color archetypes.
Hmm.
I think is kind of the best place to start
Okay, let's do it there then.
because like red green, for example, Beastie Beatdown is the better of the two red green signpost uncommons.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of Wildfire Wicker Folk, but you really want a handful of Wildfire Wicker Folks before you're happy.
Yep.
Um, you'll be satisfied once you get to about three, but they play much better in multiples. I think easily the top three signpost uncommons of the format are Gremlin Tamer,
Yep.
probably number one.
Yeah. That's
It
a
is,
really hard to pass card, especially in
yeah,
pack one.
yeah, it is a build around in and of itself, and I think one of the key indicators of reading where the draft is going, if you see like a pack one pick seven Gremlin Tamer,
Oh, you're in the
and you're in
business.
either white or blue, you may want to consider dropping whatever other color you're working with,
I mean,
because
and if honestly, I mean, if you see a pick seven pack one Gremlin Tamer, you might just throw away everything you have already. Like,
mhm,
you should be seriously considering it. Like, and you should take a hard look at what you already have, and it's got to be pretty good for you to not just abandon ship for that Gremlin Tamer, because that Gremlin
yeah,
Tamer is absolutely busted.
yes. And of the decks that are good that have two good signpost uncommons, red white, both of its signpost uncommons are very good.
Hmm.
Arabella can kill your opponent very quickly, a lot quicker than you would think possible. And Midnight Mayhem is also a fantastic card.
Yeah. Um.
Blue green plays a little wonky.
Mhm.
Um, it is great though. You're going to be pretty happy playing it most all the time, so long as you start off with a couple of Oblivious Bookworms.
Yep.
And at that point, you just kind of take all the cards that say Manifest Dread.
Yep. And you definitely take the centipede highly, and you're interested, I think, in blue green is the exception to Blake's rule that you shouldn't splash. Blue green, I think, can comfortably splash red, uh,
Black,
black,
less so white.
less so
Like
white.
depending on what it's doing, I just don't.
Yeah.
You have less reason to go into white.
Well, and the blue white, like the white stuff is more at odds with the blue green stuff too, because it's not really about manifest dread. Um, but yeah, red Teamer and uh what Jund are both
Yes,
pretty good.
yes.
Especially because red green being delirium. Delirium's just kind of good no matter what, because I mean the game, if the game goes long, which blue green is already trying to do, you're probably gonna get delirium anyway. So
Mm.
it's kind of something that just kind of happens naturally with the game. You don't actually have to build around it as strongly, especially if it's your splash. Um, and yeah, I mean, you're just trying to get max value from your bookworms and your other build rounds. What's the green one? The enchantment?
Um. The four drop that
Yeah.
manifests dread.
Uh-huh.
Threats around every corner.
Threats around every corner. Yeah. That card's
Yeah,
great.
you really want you like four between 4 and 6 manifest dread abilities before you're happy running a threats around every corner. But once you pass that critical mass, you're very happy running it.
Yeah. Um, let's see.
Cards to look out for
Mhm.
at common. Worth noting, Unable to Scream is a great card. It is better than it looks. It is the closest thing we've ever gotten to just a one drop blue removal spell.
Come on, let's call it what it is. It's blue
Yeah,
swords to
it's
plowshare.
not blue swords to plowshares because there's a lot of enchantment removal in the format as well as bounce.
Blue
So
swords to plowshares.
yeah. Also, Glimmer Burst is a great card.
Yeah, top
You
common
should
in the
be
set.
pretty happy running Glimmer Burst any opportunity you get because as the game does run long, Glimmer Burst is great, and Glimmer Burst also helps you in getting the game to run long.
Yep. Um, Yeah,
All
its
of
win rate
the
is
mana
insane.
cyclers, as rule of thumb, if you want to get ahead in the games, I think a good way to do it is typically to run 16 lands and 2 of the cyclers.
I
Um,
can see that.
the typical rule of thumb for me
Especially
is
if you're two color.
for every 2 cyclers, you take out 1 land.
Yep, I can see
So
that.
if you're running 4 cyclers, you take out 2 lands. And you'd be surprised, especially the blue and the green cyclers are pretty big. The black cycler is good as well, but black plays a little more finicky. Black white's not a great deck. Black green is very good. Black
Hmm.
red's all right, and black blue is terrible.
Well, and while we're talking lands and cutting them, I know that especially from a theory perspective, you're a lot bigger on cutting lands, especially in best of one, than I think a lot of the community is. So why don't you just go into that a little bit? Because
So
I think that's a good thing for you to hang your hat on.
I think personally that you really, really want to be running 16 lands in most of your decks.
Hmm.
Um, that being said, I am very, very conscious when I'm drafting of making sure I craft one, a functional mana base, and
Hmm.
two, a functional curve.
Yep.
If you've only got 3, 4, and above drops in your deck, you shouldn't be running 17 lands.
Yeah.
Depending on the deck, that's less the case. But red white, I really don't think you ever want to be running 17 lands at all.
Yeah.
In this format, there are times where I think you're actually quite happy running 15.
Yep. I could see that.
Because this is a
A
very
fast
fast
set.
format,
Yeah.
but if you make it past the beginning of the game, this is a value format. And those 2 extra lands are really going to take up a lot of space in your deck. That's why, again, I think you feel better often running 16 lands and 2 of the cyclers, because the shark and the green cycler are both huge,
Yep.
and with relevant keywords. The green, especially, I'd say, is the best of all those cyclers.
Agreed. The black one's okay if you can reanimate it. I really wouldn't play it too often otherwise.
Again, the
Um,
black one's good. I think it just suffers a lot from the fact that it's in black, and
it does.
black and red, I'd say, are both in contention for the worst color in the set.
I'd say it's black.
Yeah.
Um,
This set spot removal for the most part is bad.
yeah,
Like murder is a card you're really happy with spin out in Aether Drift, but you are not that happy with murder in this
agreed.
set.
Well,
I would take it
and
highly.
removal's kind of a dime a dozen. Like there's a lot of removal spells in this set.
Hmm.
Like me,
Uh,
I was drafting a red deck earlier, and it was basically mono red because I literally got like pick one, the one drop thing that deals 5 damage to one of two things. Then I got another one. Then I got a scorching dragon fire. Then I got another scorching dragon. Like I just got like all the burn spells in the world just handed to me, and so I was like, well, I'm red.
Also worth noting, monstrous emergence, because this probably will come up for at least a few people. Unlike the typical green bite or fight spell,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if they kill your creature in response.
Yep.
It does the damage the creature doesn't. So don't
Yep.
try and kill your opponent's creature in response to the monstrous emergencing you with it, because it'll still get through.
Yep.
So worth
Uh,
noting. Also worth leveraging on your own side of the board when your opponent is gonna try to screw you out of your kill spell, because they can't.
And as much as we say that spot removal isn't good, Scorching Dragonfire is the third best common in the set.
Well,
But
Scorching Dragonfire also exiles,
it
which
does
matters a
almost
lot in this set.
it matters so much. It's also a
Because
2 drop, and so this being like you said a faster format, that tempo matters a lot.
it's huge. It is
Um,
for sure huge.
Another card to look out for in red while we're talking about it, Glassworks is great. It's a great removal spell. Um, and the other side of it matters a lot more than you would think. You get to pay 5, and deal 1 damage to your opponent every turn. It in those aggro decks, it just straight up kills your opponent a lot more than you would think it would.
Hmm. Worth noting as well, Nowhere to Run is an uncommon. It's a great removal spell. If you wind up in black, you're very happy playing it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple of cards in the set that at instant speed give your creature hexproof, or give your creature ward.
Yeah.
There are various enchantments that care about that, and Nowhere to Run just hoses those.
Yep.
So if your opponent has nowhere to run on the field, do not drop your 1 mana Shard Mage's Rescue to save it
Hmm.
unless the +1/+1 is going to be what saves it, because it will clean straight through it. All of their other removal spells will clean straight through it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Worth noting as well, if you wind up in black red, nowhere to run's great because you can sack it to all the things that care about sacking,
Yeah.
because it again is an enchantment. So
Um, I guess another archetype to avoid is probably blue black. I didn't think about that one.
yeah, blue black I'd say is the worst color combo in the format.
You think it's worse
Um,
than green white?
yes,
Yeah,
because
I'd say
green
so
white when it
too.
comes together at least does something.
Yeah, that's
Blue
fair.
black does not.
No, and the
I'd say
reanimator thing is kind of a trap too.
yes. Blue black, I would say, is bad enough in the format that if you see a good white or a good green card in your first pack, even a good blue, like a really good blue card in your first pack, if it's a rare or an uncommon, and then you also have a Kaito in that pack,
Yeah.
I would take the other card.
Well, and
Kaito's good, but he's not.
he's not that good.
No,
Um,
not good enough to justify playing
blue black.
a terrible color.
Yeah, exactly. Color
Yeah.
pair.
Yeah.
But something I will say is that once you're already in blue green or a green based deck, you can a little bit more easily take a lot of the good blue black because there are good blue black cards. They're
There are.
just not. There's just not a big enough. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not a big enough critical mass of good blue black cards to go into a whole deck just blue black. But you can supplement, like for instance, the Fear of Infinity. That's a really good one to splash if you're in like blue green because it is just a good card and you can also take advantage of the graveyard stuff that it does.
Yes.
The other blue black uncommon, the 1/4 flyer, a little bit less so. I'd say probably just kind of avoid that card. It's a little bit of a trap. It looks cool and it looks like it does stuff, but it doesn't really do that much stuff, especially not as much as you're thinking it does. Um, and then did we say what we thought the best archetypes were in the format?
Yes, I think it's close between blue white and green blue.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the closest run between them. The rest I'd say not as close. Um,
And if you take something that's looking like you might be green blue, some of the commons that you would be pretty comfortable taking early are, like Blake said, unable to scream. Uh, the manifest dread is really good in pretty much any green deck. Say its name is also something I think we should kind of just bring up and you know uh, get the word out to the community that this is a card that kind of looks useless but is actually really good. And if you can assemble the combo of getting the Altanac, it's
which is
so
feasible.
good. It is feasible. I've done it multiple times in this set.
Yes. I've found that it's easier to get the 3 say its names and then find yourself an Altanac than vice versa.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the say it names are actually kind of in contention.
Yep, yep. Because they're just good commons by themselves without the
Yep.
Altanac. Um, how do you feel about Glimmerlight? Because that is also one of the top commons, and through the entire format, and even in these past few drafts, I've seen Glimmerlights, and when I'm outside of blue white, I'm just kind of not looking at it. But I feel like the data and some conventional wisdoms from some of the content creators back when the set was out was saying that you can just put Glimmerlight into most decks.
Yeah, I'd say you could put Glimmerlight into most decks. I don't think you're over the moon putting Glimmerlight into most decks.
And
It,
for
it's
people that don't know, Glimmerlight is the 2-drop equipment that creates a Glimmer enchantment when it enters and equips for 1 and gives the enchanted or equipped creature +1/+1.
and like blue green's okay with playing it as well because blue green really just wants to survive.
Yep.
And getting to play a 2-drop that makes
Makes it
you a
1/1.
chump blocker and then a piece of equipment that sticks around is it's decent enough. Again, you're not over the moon about it. Really, I don't love it in any any deck outside of blue white, really.
That's where I'm at. But
I mean, it's
and
good in
every
blue
time
black as well if
yeah,
you play blue black, but you really don't want to play blue
you
black.
really won't play blue black.
It's just not where you want to be in the format.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, a nice little common uncommon combo. Fear of which fear is it? What's the name? Fear of being hunted. In conjunction with most valuable slayer is a disgusting combo.
Yep.
Most
Because it
valuable
has to
slayer.
block and it gets
It has to block
first
and it
strike.
gets first strike. So
Yep.
it's a 5/2 first striker. It's almost always going to eat whatever it wants to eat.
Yep. One of the better archetypes that we haven't talked about yet is black red. Black red is really really good when it comes together. And the one thing I'd say about black red is it's very dependent on the signpost on commons. Like the 2-drop enchantment that sacks things to draw 2 cards, and the
Yes.
even more importantly the what's the 3-drop
It's a strong
guy?
deck like blue red. It requires a decent chunk of you.
I would put that deck quite a bit above blue red though.
Yeah, I guess blue red's a little bit more difficult to get because it asks you to get a lot of the blue cards that everyone else wants anyways.
Yeah.
Red black you can hedge in on a little easier. So I could see that.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Like I said before, the what's it called? The reanimator stuff is kind of a trap. The white reanimator spell is the common is okay. But I would typically only try to do reanimator stuff in like with your mana cyclers or your land cyclers.
Yeah, there are reasons. I mean, if you pack one Sea of Algavoth, you can kind of build around that plan.
You can.
You really have to have reasons to want to reanimate.
But even if you pick one of Valgavoth, like if there's I mean, what's the blue green? If there's a bookworm in that pack, are you taking?
I'm probably taking the bookworm.
Yeah, me too.
Typically.
Yeah. Typically. Yeah.
But again, if you're able to get a Valgavoth on the field, you almost
definitely
surely win that game.
That's true.
But
what's it called? Unholy Annex does. I'd say that one wins you the game just as much, but it's way easier to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean Unholy Annex is definitely the better of those 2 cards.
For sure.
Unholy Annex is also just one of the better rares in the set. Like if we're talking about reasons to go into black, like pack one, pick one, it's the Black Overlord, it's an Unholy Annex, or an Unstoppable Slasher.
Yep.
All of which are excellent.
Another archetype we haven't talked about yet, black green. Black green is really good, especially if you pack one, pick one, a Swarm Weaver. That card is the 4th best card in the set. It is dependent on Delirium synergies though, so it is another deck that again asks something of you. Commons that I would be really comfortable taking early in that are Final Vengeance, the 1-drop where you can sack a creature or enchantment and exile a creature. Of course, Monstrous Emergence that you already called out. And we were talking about Say Its Name. That's where Say Its Name really shines. That and blue-green.
Yes. It's just if you're going to be doing the reanimator thing, because what is it, Life and Death or Live or Die? Live or Die is a really good spell.
Yeah.
Like it, either destroy your opponent's best thing or get back whatever you want from your yard. And it's at instant speed, so you can often ambush them pretty bad with Live or Die. But if you're doing the reanimator thing, you really just would prefer to be in green-black. Because green-black is a very good deck.
Yep.
And it gets all the good stuff. And like Dalton said, black-white often looks very good, but it is a bit of a trap.
It is a bit of a trap.
Because, I mean, both of black-white's uncommons are very, very strong cards. They just don't come together as often as you want to. There just aren't enough good ways to get worthwhile stuff into your yard. Cynical Loner can do it,
Yeah.
okay, but you have to build around making your deck work well, whereas a lot of the other good decks just work well.
Yeah, big facts. I think in this set, like pack one going into pack one, um, like just taking strong mono green cards is really good. Just because it sets you up to be in a litany of like all the green decks by and large are pretty good, except for green white. Um, so taking mono green cards early, I think, is pretty good. I think you can take those centipedes like, um, probably pick 3 or 4 pretty comfortably.
Hmm.
Maybe not pick 1 or 2 because you're really, on the search for bombs in those picks. Um, another.
Also, word to the wise.
Mhm.
This is as a result of a lot of the rares and mythics in this set being quite good. Try and exhibit self control during the draft,
Mhm.
because if you are on a good plan, pack one and pack two, pack three, odds on, if you haven't seen a lot of bombs in your setup, you're gonna see some bombs in
Yep.
the other setups, and it's gonna be very tempting to be like, oh
I
man,
could splash this.
if I could splash it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, that's a reason for maybe go the less powerful route of just scooping up a bunch of centipedes in the first
Yep.
couple of packs and knowing that you're base green and kind of working around there.
And letting the packs tell you what to do next.
The dual lands in this set are much better than your typical fare of dual lands, I'd say, because a decent chunk of the time, one of the players is going to have 13 or less life.
Yeah.
So them entering untapped in the latter part of the game, where you actually really want your lands to enter untapped, is important. It does come up a lot. There are some rooms that you should just never play, that
Yep.
just never come up, like Dazzling Theater and Prop Room. Don't look at it and go, "Oh, that's a rare and it's a room." No,
No.
card's terrible. Same thing with the Tale of Tameo. You really don't want to play it.
Yep.
There are some worthwhile build arounds. The Mind Skinner, for example, is really nifty.
The blue, blue,
Uh,
blue crab. What is it? A like 8/1 or
yeah, it's a
something?
nightmare. It's a 10-1.
10/1. That's what it
Um,
is. And it deals
Keep in
damage in
mind though,
mill.
it makes all of your stuff deal damage in mill.
Oh, okay.
But it can't be blocked. But keep in mind, you just can't kill your opponent the traditional way. If the Mind Skinner is on the field, because none
Yep.
of your stuff does regular damage. Uh, Worth noting, if you do go blue green and you go blue green hard, be careful
Hmm.
not to mill yourself to death.
Yeah, that's big facts.
Cathartic Parting is very beneficial in the
Yep.
set because it is not catch all removal, but you're almost always going to have a target with it, and you can put a couple of cards back into your deck,
And that's
which
where you
comes up in this
start.
format a lot more than you would think it would.
And that's where you start valuing the 6-drop chandelier guy a lot higher too. That I found
Yeah,
that to be a decent 20, 23rd, 22nd card in
yeah.
those types of decks.
Meat
Um,
Locker plays above its weight class
it
for
sure
sure,
does.
because Drowned Diner you actually really care about late in the game. Scrabbling Skull Crab is a very legitimate win condition.
It is, yeah.
Again, a lot of the decks in this set care about Delirium
Yep.
and are going to be milling themselves anyways.
Yep.
So the Skull Crab, especially if you can land the Skull Crab turn one,
Yep.
it's a beefy blocker.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. On top of being a win con, it's a 1-drop 03 that just blocks
Mhm.
all the live long day.
Yeah. And for all the cards that care about enchantments entering, the Grand Entryway and Elegant Rotunda, when you play it as the 2-drop side, you get 2 enchantments for 2 mana. So if you're running the blue-white uncommon that makes a gremlin every time an enchantment enters, you get 2 gremlins off that.
Yep.
If you're playing the Skull Crab, when that enters, you get 2 mills of your opponent. So you mill your opponent for 4 off that. Just things that come up again pretty often because they're common and uncommon
Yep.
cards we're talking about here. Optimistic Scavenger is very good in the deck that you put it in, but if you've only got 3 or 4 enchantments in your deck, you probably don't want it. It's a
Yep.
bad card.
Yep.
Um, in
Um
red,
the
the Artifact Monkey, the one
oh
drop
the yeah,
haster is great. It pulls double duty.
he's so
You
good.
play it on turn one, and you just keep on swinging. and then you're happy to trade it with something at any point, because you'll get a card back out of it. It also puts 2 card types in the yard for red-green Delirium, which is big because artifacts are often a hard one to hit.
Yeah, you just put
Your
that card in
opponent
every red deck.
is going to be incentivized to block it because it's a 1/1 and it's irritating. And eventually they can't just keep taking it, which is why it plays really well with Turn Inside Out. Because then it's often, hey, I'm trading my 1-drop that's already pitched in for 2 or 3 damage for your whatever drop. I'm getting a Manifest Dread out of it, and I'm going to get a card to play off the Clockwork Percussionist.
And 2 other red cards that are better than they probably look to you. Ragged Playmate, the 2-drop artifact, 2/2 that taps
Mhm.
for 1 and makes a power 2 or less, unable to be blocked. That card
Mhm.
really can get in damage at the end of the game to push those final points.
It can.
But there's
Also,
also a
Arabella
combo.
moves that way up in
Oh
your
yes,
pattern.
so far. And another card is the what is it? Something Clown, the 3-drop that
Yes.
gets +2/+0 every time a creature 2 or
Vicious
less.
Clown. Yeah.
Vicious Clown, yeah. The Playmate also does an insane combo with that clown that you should keep in mind about, because when
Mhm.
you have them out together, you can tap the Playmate to give the clown unblockable. Then you can play like 1 or 2 creatures that pump the clown, and it still keeps unblockable, and you can get in for like 6 damage unblockable.
Mhm.
I did that to somebody today where I activated that ability and then I casted Midnight Mayhem, so I got 3 triggers and a bunch of hasty boys, and it was
Mhm.
unblockable. It's so disgusting.
That is good. Terramorphic Expanse in this set's really good because
Yep,
again, it gets you a land in the yard
yep.
and
For
helps
Delirium.
your fixing. I'm pretty happy running somewhere between 3 and 4 Terramorphic Expanses in just a concerted red-green deck
Yep.
for that exact reason. Often, just as a micro synergy thing that comes up more than you would think it would in the decks where you care about your Delirium. Oftentimes, you're gonna look at your cards and you're gonna be like, oh, it's a land and an enchantment. Either way, I'm not getting a creature out of this. Make sure you check your yard. If you
Yep.
already have a land and you need the enchantment in the yard, or vice versa, just make sure you keep up with that when you're manifesting dread because it does come up a lot.
Yep.
Um,
You were talking about the moldering, or not the moldering gem, the meat locker punching above its weight class. What do you think about the moldering gem? I think it punches a little bit under its weight class. Like when I first saw that card, I thought it was going to be great in the set, and it is good, but it's not great.
I do think it is good, but if you're running Moldering Gem, you need to also you cannot just run Moldering Gem and all the big cards in your deck without
Yep.
having 2-drops.
Yeah.
If your first play of the game is Moldering Gem, especially if you're on the draw, your opponent's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that cannot be your out. I'm all about your 3-mana ramp cards, and it's a good one because it will give you a 6/6 later in the game,
But you're not
or
going to
not
build a green
6/6, but a
ramp
five
deck
five.
where you're shoving 7 drops out on turn 4. That's just not happening in this set. Period.
Mm-mm. For your cards that care about Survivor, about being tapped, uh, if you get a benefit from tapping them and you have a vehicle, because there is one in green for crewing
Sure.
purposes, keep that in mind. Make sure you do it pre-combat so you get your effect post-combat.
And it's worth mentioning
Also,
that the what is it, Oracle of the Wheat or something like that?
yes, we'll tap all of
Yeah.
your other Survivor
Yep.
creatures down as well.
That card's a
Enduring
great
Vitality
combo.
is a good combo with it. It
Yep.
makes all of your cards tap for mana,
Yep.
and you can do that
Oh,
pre-combat.
that's so
Just
good.
make sure you don't miss out on your goodies in that regard. All of the endurings are good.
Yep.
I'd say, except for like pack one, pick one good. You're happy with any of them, except for probably Enduring Tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some interesting things with it, but it's a little clunkier than the rest of them. All of the rest of them are just good enough on face value.
We were talking about spot removal being pretty bad in this set. I think another exception to that rule is Nowhere to Run. 1, because it's a 2-drop.
Yes.
2, because it's an enchantment.
Mhm.
And 3, because it takes away I believe hexproof.
Yes.
Yeah, it takes away
Hexproof
hexproof
and
and
Ward.
ward. And
Yeah.
that is Like, you wouldn't
It comes
think
up.
that that comes up, but it comes up so much.
Well,
And
Shard
I've
Mage's
had
Rescue is one of the better uncommons in the set,
exactly,
and it just completely turns that card
it
off.
blows that card out. Like, if you're ever going to use a removal spell on something and you see they have white mana up, and you have, say, 2 removal spells in hand, nowhere to run another one, you might, like, you should probably run out the nowhere to run first, just to, or
Yep.
I mean, you can even bait them and try to get a. I mean, it's not really a 2-for-1. Yeah, no, that's not that good either. But running that nowhere to run out into, like, I've had people that just didn't realize that it took away hexproof, and then they just threw away their hexproof combat
Hmm.
trick.
No. Don't run any leyline
Nope,
at all. They're all
nope,
bad.
all traps.
They're all bad. Fear of missing out. If you have 2 cards left in your hand, and Fear of Missing Out is one of them, and the other one's a land, play your land and then play Fear of Missing Out.
Because you don't have to discard.
You don't have to discard. If
Yep.
you have no cards in hand, you don't have to discard, and you still get to draw a card.
Yep. And that card's really, really good if you can turn it on with the delirium.
Don't get trapped by Marina Vendrell's Gwynmoir. Don't get trapped by Demonic Council. Don't
Yep.
get trapped by Doomsday Excruciator. You can do the central elevator plan. I've won a couple of games with it, but you need at least like 6 or 7 unique rooms, which if you're in that deck, it means the rest of your deck's probably hurting as a result of it. So I would say, as a rule of thumb, just avoid it.
Yep.
The Black Room, Defiled Crypt, and Cadaver Lab is really good. In black, green, and white, black specifically, you'd be surprised the amount of times you're able to get 3, 4, sometimes 5 2/2s off of it. If you're running a decent plethora of other reanimator spells in your deck, and it's also not just creatures. Typically, that byline will read whenever a creature leaves your graveyard, then you make something. But it's whenever a card leaves your graveyard. So if you have anything that gets back anything out of your graveyard, or gets rid of anything from your graveyard, you can just use it to make a 2/2. Cathartic Parting will give you a 2/2 because you're taking stuff out of your graveyard. Ghost Vacuum works really well in contention with it. Not in contention, in conjunction with it.
There you go.
Every time you use your Ghost Vacuum on something in your yard, you'll get a 2/2. So Defiled Crypt and Cadaver Labs, just a pretty good guard on its own right, but it plays really well in a deck that utilizes other cards to just fiddle with your yard.
Unwanted Remake, the 1-drop destroy target creature instant, its controller manifest dread. That card looks good. It's probably not that good.
No, I'd say never run it.
Yeah, never.
You
run it.
may
It's
run
kind of
it
a trap.
to. I think this is all best of one, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Because this is the first time we've ever gotten a draft one. I think it probably is.
I think it probably
Because
is.
sealed always is, and
Yeah.
if that's the case, you definitely don't want to run Unwanted Remake.
No, God, no.
I was gonna say maybe you want to chuck it in the side.
Right.
Same thing. Whereas Unwanted Remake's kind of a no. Fear of Imposters kind of is a yes.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you're gonna get to counter a much better spell than whatever they get to manifest dread. Keep in mind, every now and then your opponent will manifest dread and Altanac, and they'll just flip it up and kill you because it's a 9/9 trampler for 7 mana.
Another combo like that with Manifest Dread is that the bear that has double strike that comes in with -1/-1 counters. If you
Yes.
can Manifest Dread that guy and then flip him up, he doesn't have any -1/-1 counters, and he'll be like a 4/3 double striker.
Mm-hmm. Pyroclasm is really good in the board.
Yep.
I'm just trying to knock off as many
Yeah, same.
many small things.
Don't fall into the trap. Don't play Winter. The 3 color, the
Winter's terrible.
Yeah, don't play Meat Hook Massacre. Almost ever.
I'd say
you gotta be really black, like really into black.
98% of the time you shouldn't be.
98% of the time, yes. And so
I'd say
that basically for this
50
Arena
drafts.
Direct, if you just don't even think about Meat Hook Massacre, you're probably you're probably in the right doing that.
Are there any special guest cards worth noting and worth keeping in mind?
That's something I was about to bring up. I think Noxious Revival is probably pretty good. It's the one
Yeah,
drop you can pay Phyrexian mana to put target card from your graveyard on the top of your library.
it's target card from a graveyard on
It
top of its
is
own.
yes, it is. So you can put lands on the top of your opponent's library.
Mhm.
You can put your bomb back from your graveyard. That one's okay.
Damnation is a pack one, pick one
Yes.
card. You're really happy with Damnation.
Outside of that, I think most of them are traps. Like I'm looking at the worst cards in the set, and a lot of them are special guests.
So Expropriate, you don't
Expropriate,
really ever want to play.
yeah, you're just never gonna get there.
Phantasmal Image is actually a decent
No,
card.
Phantasmal Image is another good one. Yeah,
Yeah. Collected Company, I would say you need at least 8 or 9 targets you can hit with it
yeah, at least.
to be happy with it.
Oh,
Unholy Heat, you're actually pretty happy
yeah,
just
you're pretty
running it in
happy
your
with
red
Unholy
deck.
Heat.
Hollowed Haunting can actually do the thing really well if you get it early
Which
or
one's
if you
that?
get it late. It's the enchantment from it's either Midnight Hunt or
Crimson
Crimson
Vow.
Vow. But if you it's 2 and 2 white for an enchantment, and it's as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. And whenever you
Uh,
cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control.
my God.
Yeah, so it is 4 mana,
Yeah,
but if you have a bunch of enchantment spells in your deck, it is kind of just worth it.
yeah.
Turning every enchantment card you play into a spirit that gets stronger based off of the number of other enchantment spells you play is just good. And eventually, once you hit critical mass on your enchantments, you're just going to win the game because all your creatures are going to get flying and vigilance. But if you're not in a very heavy enchantment deck, don't put it in your deck at all.
Yep.
It won't do enough
Nope.
to do anything.
Curse Recording, I think, is a card worth bringing up. It's the 4-drop artifact, and it essentially lets you copy your instance and sorcery spells.
Mm-hmm.
This is a card that looks phenomenal. It gets every draft player's juices flowing. It tells you the story of what the best things you can get with that card are very clearly, but it doesn't tell you how hard it is to draft around in this set.
Yeah.
This card has a really terrible game in hand win rate on 17 lands because people play it and they don't put it in a good deck for it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
It's
play
a build
Curse
around.
Recording,
It's not not
it
include.
has to be a build. You have to build around it, and you have to have a ton of spells. But if you can get there, it is a great card, and it will do you no wrong as far as um, just being amazing in your deck. Let's see.
I think that's pretty much all the baseline stuff. Like I said, we didn't go into super crazy detail about how you want to play out specific lines through the archetypes because again, this is a set that wasn't out that long ago. I feel like the majority of the people listening are relatively at least familiar with it. This is more of a refresher, and for
Yep.
the people who aren't as familiar with the set, uh, you know, things to avoid.
Yeah.
Also, unless you're going to be playing against me in the Arena Direct, if you're not good at this set or not familiar at all with this set, I would say it's a nah on the yeah or nah scale.
On the
Um,
Yair scale, yeah.
this
And
is
that's a
a
callback to your last episode.
this is a very knowledge
Heavy
base
set.
heavy set. You really have to know what you're doing and know what your opponent's cards are.
Yep. Um, I mean, if again, as I said before, if you're willing to if you have the money and you just want to draft with some stakes,
Yeah, go for it.
do it, go for it. But yeah, if you're tight and you're scrounging up your gems to do 1 or 2 drafts a week, this probably isn't for you unless again, like I said, this format and you played it a lot.
Mm. Also worth noting, Paranormal Analyst is a card that you only want in a blue-green deck, but it's quite good in a blue-green deck. You're
Yeah.
actually quite happy playing it in a blue-green deck. Turning all of your Manifest Dreads into Manifest Dread draw a card is actually pretty good.
Is the Arena Direct just Friday, or is it Friday and Saturday?
I think it might be the whole weekend.
I don't know.
I
We
can't
said that last
imagine.
time.
Yeah, but I can't imagine them having it start on Friday and end on Friday.
Yeah, that would
That
be
doesn't
weird.
sound like a winning business plan to
I
me.
I agree with you.
I imagine it'll be at least Friday and Saturday.
And last time it was what, 6 wins before 2 losses?
I think it's the same this time.
I think it probably will too. 6 wins before 2 losses is surprisingly more doable than you would think.
Yes. Yeah, it's much more manageable than, say, moneying in an arena open. I
Exactly.
like the arena direct method in general. It's been very good to me. It's
Yeah.
been pretty good to Dalton as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but we
it
the last Arena Direct we got a collective of 4 boxes between us.
yes.
Have
So
have you claimed your
four wins.
boxes? I don't think
No,
they've
have
sent
you?
me the email yet.
No, they haven't sent me it either.
Okay.
Um,
And that's another thing we might should just shout out for our listeners is the process that they're gonna go through if they win a box. You'll have to set up an account with Wizards, like basically proving to them that you're 18 or older. Um, and then you'll be able to. They'll send you an email, and you can do all that through the email that they send you. Should be a link in there. Just make sure you keep an eye on your inbox. Don't let it rot away in your inbox. But you also have time to claim your box. They're not gonna like come out of the woodwork and say, you didn't claim it fast enough. I think,
I think you have like a 6 month window.
yeah, it's like a 6 month. I think while supplies last. So like if they run out of boxes, I think they pay out cash.
Yeah, it's 250 if they run out of boxes, which
Um,
would save me some time, honestly. But
yeah, because you're just gonna put them up on eBay and sell them. Yeah.
I don't know. Say because I already have 6 free entries for this event coming up because I got a decent chunk of gems in preparation for the Open
Yep.
last
And then
week
didn't use
and
them.
got in pretty quick in the
Yep.
Open last weekend. So I have a dearth of Arena Direct entries here, and of those 6 entries, I would be very surprised if I didn't win any boxes.
Yeah, I
I'd
would too.
honestly be surprised if I only won one. Same with you.
Yeah.
If you are familiar with this set and you are familiar with how to draft it and play it at least relatively competently well, this is of all the opportunities on Arena that I've been around for. This is the one I think where the people who know how to play the set are going to be able to mow the lawn the best.
Yeah.
You can get
No kidding.
unlucky in an arena open. You can also just get unlucky in an arena open day one with a weird sealed pull or coming up against a bomby run. In this, you are going to cut the grass
Yeah.
if you
No,
know
for
how to play
real.
this. I would say your return on investment rate for this arena direct is going to be better than your return on investment rate for probably any other event they've ever run.
Yeah. Basically ever. Like
Mhm.
unless you're the guy that's out there that used to spike GPs and win a couple grand every time,
Yeah.
like there's really there's really no better return rate.
Mhm.
And the bet and another thing is to think about, like, once you've already won your first box, that's about two, or well, it's you, to be clear, you win 2 boxes of Duskmourn,
Mhm.
which are
Just
a
the
little
regular
over
boxes.
a
Yeah.
hundred a piece. So you're looking at about 250 value. Um, so you know if you, like me and Blake, we sell a lot of ours on eBay. Um, if you're going to sell them, think about it this way: once you make your first win, if you've only spent $100, if you spent the next 150 and broke even, that's not the end of the world either.
Mhm.
So you might as well keep going and see if you can get up to 500.
Capitalize on the wins.
Because
Yeah.
then once you're at 500, like it's only up from there. Because I mean, you have so much room to work before you're even breaking even. Which again, breaking even on just playing hours of Magic is still kind of a win.
Yeah.
Um,
Also worth noting of all the sets that they could have done this for, where you're getting multiple boxes and it's an older set and it's draft basis. Say I win 6 boxes of this. That's being hopeful. I'll knock on
yeah.
wood. I'll probably flub out 6 times in a row now that I've acted cocky. But say I win 6 boxes of this, I'll probably keep 2.
Oh yeah, me too.
'Cause this is in excellent set. I'd say
Yeah.
this is probably top 5 limited sets they've ever printed.
Yeah, I can see it.
In my experience of the sets that I've played.
Do you like it better
Um,
than Aether Drift?
I think it is better than Aether Drift.
I can see it.
I like Aether Drift a lot, and it's fun to finally have a set that is a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Aether Drift is less competitive
Yeah, there's less
because
agency.
you can get away with more in Aether Drift than you could get away with in a set like Duskmourn,
Yeah,
which is a lot of fun,
right.
but I don't think rewards skill of play and skill of draft as highly.
Sure, I could see
Um,
that.
yeah.
And it being a faster format means that the decisions are condensed down into the first 5 turns of the game.
hmm
Meaning, if you make a slip up that's bad turn 2 or 3, it's gonna affect you a lot more. Like Blake said, you can get away with a little bit more when the games are going to turn 8.
Yes. Also, there's no Sabsunin in this format.
Yep.
Like, not that I don't like Sabsunin. I think it's a neat card, and I actually really like the design around it.
Yeah.
But there isn't any card your opponent can play in this format that you go, oh man, I just lose.
Yeah.
Just flat out, I can't get out of this. Like Overlord of the Mistmoors has the highest win rate in the format, and it is great if your opponent can ever find a way to impinge it on turn 3.
Yeah.
If they have some
That's
way
the
to
thing.
get to a 4th man on their turn 3, or if they're running the creature that taps for a mana for enchantments, or they have the green mana dork 2-drop, that's very hard to recover from, but it can be done.
Hmm.
All of the overlords are enchantments, so they all die to the enchantment catch-alls, which are pretty prominent in the set.
If you had to guess what the difference between the game in hand win rate of the Overlord of the Mistmoors and Sabsunin, what would you guess it would be?
Like 1.2%,
0.5%.
0.5%. That's
So it's
close.
it's close, but it's better.
hmm Yeah, no, Sabsunin is it's again. You have such a small window for almost any of the removal in the set to kill it,
Yeah.
like to get rid of it. And even if you do pull whatever piece of exile removal you need to kill it, if they've gotten one turn cycle off of it, they're okay with it. They've already 3 for 1 you for 5 mana.
Yeah.
Like that card is obscene.
It's bussin' for sure.
Yeah, it is. And again, I've had plenty of games that were competitive and my opponent was ahead and I played it and they conceded on the spot.
Yep.
Because if your deck doesn't have ways to deal with it, you're not going to win.
Yep.
It may take a while before you lose, but you are not going to win.
Yep. Um,
Um,
I think that's
but
all
yeah,
we got.
almost all of the overlords worth noting, you probably are just going to want to impin them.
Yep. Yeah, if you can. Yeah.
Yep. Overlord of the Baelmerk, you're always going to impin it turn 2. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'd say it's the one example of if you aren't going to impin it on turn 2 or 3, you probably just want to wait until you can play it.
Yeah.
Because
True.
impending 5 for that effect is quite tough. But if you've got any of the overlords in your deck, your draft's already going well.
Yep.
So that's about it.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm excited for this Arena Direct. I think it'll be a fun one. I'll try and stream at least a couple of entries on Saturday.
Yep.
But I'm gonna ask Dalton the same question I asked him once upon a time. You open your pack one, and in it is an Overlord of the Mistmoors and a Valgavoss Onslaught. Which one are you taking?
Mm, probably Valgavoss. Just because
Yeah.
it's most likely to end up in my deck.
Yes.
Like I could see a world where the packs just don't break your way. You don't get white when you take the Overlord of the Mistmoors. And like we said, I mean, this is a set where I think, that the Valgavoss Onslaught is one of the cards you're willing to splash for just because one green pip.
Yep.
So you're almost consider that card a colorless card.
Yep.
And just
Also
splash it
worth
anytime.
noting, if you know what you're doing and you play around it properly, I think Ghostly Dancers is also what is it ranked in the data?
Oh, it's so high.
What's it
It's
like
like top
fourth?
5. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that card's insane.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's the most of all the cards in the set. That's the most grown test heavy card for me.
It sure is, because it's a
Anytime my opponent
rare.
plays that, I go, oh my.
It's not that hard to see it in the pack. It's
Mm-mm.
not that
And I
hard to
mean,
see
Valgavott's
multiple.
Onslaught's a rare too, but like somehow that's less discouraging. When my
Well,
opponent goes Ghostly Dancers, unlock a room, get value off the unlock, make a
yeah.
3/1, kill my thing right now, and I've already 3-for-1'd you. And if you don't kill it right now and they get a second 3/1 alpha, you can kiss that game goodbye. It's over.
I think it's more demoralizing because at least the Valgavoss Onslaught, like if you get a good Valgavoss Onslaught, you have to pay like what, 7 mana?
Yeah, I think you're pretty happy playing a Valgavott's Onslaught on 5.
No, you are, but
But on
it's not like a
7's
game
really
ending.
where, yeah, 7's where it sings.
A Ghostly Dancer can be game ending on 5 mana.
Yep. But yeah, that's it. If you're
yeah.
gonna run red green, because I feel like red green was a little bit maligned, and it was one of my pet decks in the format that I enjoyed playing a lot. You're gonna have to make plays that the value of the plays don't make a lot of sense. If you're used to, hey, I don't want to 1-for-2 myself.
Yep.
But in red green, there are gonna be times where you do need to 1-for-2 yourself just to kill your opponent.
Yep. And it dumps stuff in your yard for the Delirium. You know, just
and
being that aggressive.
that's the big difference. Like
Yep.
Manifest Dread, you look at it and you're like, it's an okay card. 2-mana sorcery, go Manifest Dread. But for red green and green black, that puts 2 card types in your yard.
Yep.
Worst case, sometimes it'll put 3, because sometimes you go turn 2 Manifest Dread, put an artifact creature in my yard, or put an enchantment creature in my yard, and then all of a sudden, it's turn 2 and you're 3/4 of the way to Delirium.
I mean, that's one of the commons that I'd probably shout out after the Centipede, is just being one of those cards you're just willing to take highly, and because everybody wants it. I mean, every
same thing with
Say
Its Name. Say Its Name is really good in general, but it's excellent in Delirium.
Yep.
A lot of the time, Say Its Name, you can just get Delirium turn 2. If that's something that your deck cares about, because getting 4 cards to the yard, including putting a sorcery in the yard in itself, is it's a big game.
And one last thing before we sign off here. I wanted to just explain to everyone the name of our podcast, because you look at Top Deck the Gathering and you might just not understand what that means. Me and Blake had a running joke for a long time when we were playing 1v1s against each other, that once you're hellbent, aka out of cards in your hand, you're playing Top Deck the Gathering. You're not playing Magic the Gathering anymore. And we've had this joke about a lot of things, like some formats are Bombs the Gathering, and some formats are Commons the Gathering. But we're Top Deck the Gathering, because we're always top decking that sweet, sweet business.
And also, it's meant to be a mildly ironic name, because in trying to guide you guys to draft better and play better, we're hoping to help you avoid playing Top Deck the Gathering.
Yeah, don't play Top Deck the Gathering. It's bad.
But,
sometimes you peel
a certain percentage of your games are just going to boil down to Top Deck the Gathering.
Yeah.
And you just want to make sure you're in as good a position to win as possible when you get to that point.
Also, Blake, did you cook up a sign-off for this week as the co-host?
No.
Ah,
no, I didn't.
You're slacking,
didn't even
buddy.
think of the sign-off. Did I do one last week?
No, you didn't. No, I know. That's what I said. I said in between this week and last week, I said you got to start coming up with sign-offs. Guys, he's slacking. He's slacking on us.
Okay. Well, right. I'll bring it back to last week's sign-off, because I'm pretty sure I asked you the question then, and you said you'd have to take some time on it.
Oh yeah.
But
okay. Oh yeah.
For the rest of your life, you could either always be on the play or always have a justifiably keepable hand. Which would it be?
Probably. I mean,
so you're never on the draw, or you never have to mulligan.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you always have your turn 0 combo kill them, but you always have a good enough hand to keep.
It's probably that one. Mulliganing's brutal sometimes. Then again, though, in the best set, like in the most balanced set in the universe,
sometimes you want to be on the draw.
Well, what I was gonna say is that being on the play gives you, even in the most balanced sets, on average, gives you like a 1% bump. In some sets,
Mhm.
it gives you a 4% bump
Yeah.
being on the play
Yeah, there are
to your
sets
win
where
rate.
you have a 53% chance of winning based entirely off the coin flip, which is a
Yeah,
6% differential, which is insane.
which is absurd. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know,
But you can't pick and choose based on the
right, the
set.
set. Yeah.
It's all of it.
I think I'd say never mulligan
Yeah.
because you're just, I mean, that's just so good.
It's tough. I don't know because I feel like either way, that's going to change the way I draft.
Sure.
That's going to change the way I draft. It's going to change the decks I draft. If I never have to worry about mulliganing,
You're running
I'm
like
probably
13
I'm
lands
probably
in your
running
deck.
honestly, if this rule really gets to do what it should do, I'm probably running like 7 lands in my deck. 'Cause I'm never having a mulligan, which means I always have a 3 or a 4 land hand.
Blake's always playing red white just in
Well,
every
no, I
format.
mean, at that point, I'll just run, a 7, 8 land deck, and I'll run all of your skittering surveyors and centipedes or whatever you want to call it, because I'll always just, hey, I've got my 3 lands to start with. I'm going to play it, go get my 4th land. I don't know. But then again, if I'm always on the play, I'm going to be playing aggro decks a lot more.
Yeah, you are.
Like a lot more. Like
Yeah.
1 drops and 2 drops are going way up in my pick order. I don't know. I'm not sure which one's right. I think it's probably smartest to always be on the play.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it might not be. It's hard to say.
It is
I've
hard to
been
say.
thinking on it for a while and I still can't come up with one. But we'll see if for next week's episode I'll be able to turn up some new and innovative sign off.
If I was going to sign off, which I'm not going to, but if I was going to, because I don't get that privilege, I would talk about Daredevil Born Again, because
I definitely won't be doing that.
that came out this week and wowza, it
Is
was
it any
pretty
good?
good. It's pretty
Oh,
good.
good. Good.
It's
I'm glad to see him have something good.
they came out swinging, dude. That first episode was killer. The second episode was a little less good, but first episode was killer. Also
Well,
Invincible has been just disgustingly good.
at some point, I'm going to continue to ignore all of the shows Dalton tells me that I should be watching until one day, eventually, I'll just shotgun them.
Yeah.
But whenever
how Blake
Andor
rolls.
comes out, I will be talking about it.
I still haven't finished
It is
season
the
1.
best. It's the best.
I'm savoring
I
it. I'm
maintain,
savoring it.
I think it is the best thing Star Wars has ever made across any medium.
I mean,
I think it's better than any of the Star Wars movies. I
Yeah.
think it's better than any of the Star Wars shows. And I'm a big Star Wars fan.
I know, and I agree with you. I mean, but I haven't even finished the series, and I agree.
It is one of the better written shows I have seen in the last decade.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yep.
Well,
it's excellent, and it just makes no sense. Anyways, guys, good luck in the Arena Direct this week.
Yep.
Following up from the point from last week, be patient.
Yep. Think about your plays.
Don't get burned out. Don't go on tilt. Draft as well as you can, play as well as you can, and I'm sure you'll win plenty of boxes.
And make sure you send me and Blake our obligatory pack from your boxes that you win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because that was part of the contract of listening to this. Should have read the fine print.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't, we're coming for it.
We're coming for you. Yeah, you'll hear from our lawyers.
No, you'll hear from me.
Blake and his baseball bat.
Yeah.
But with that, guys, have a good weekend. Win you some boxes, scare up them boxes, and stay frosty as always.
Stay frosty. See you guys.
See ya.